Welcome, everybody. I am so excited. I have put together an ebook that really breaks down how Temple Grandin has informed my teaching practice and how it can inform you as well. This ebook is full of hundreds and tips, but what it does, it has a quote from Dr. Temple Grandin and then my tips and strategies in how I implement her insights and lived experience in my classroom. So just stepping back a moment, if you don't know who Dr. Temple Grandin is, she is one of the most respected individuals with autism in the world. She presents at conferences around the world, helping hundreds and thousands of educators and families understand how to teach and engage their children and students. She's not only informed by a lived experience, also the latest academic and evidence-based research. And throughout the course, she refers to papers that I'm including in there for you to have a look at because it's just amazing. And I did not know about any of this research before she shared it. I went and read it all and it was just fascinating, absolutely amazing. And it really helped inform me, and I know it'll help inform you. But what is amazing about Temple? She was born in a time we didn't even have the word autism. Her mum was told to institutionalise her. She didn't speak until she was 3.5. But she has this amazing memory and able to share her insights and how it felt for her and what made a difference. But she's really honest too. She's really honest how horrible the bullying and teasing was. She's very honest about how her mother really pushed her and just extended her. And she's also very black and white about what kids on the spectrum should be doing. She wants more for kids. She believes that the kids on the spectrum can do so much if we encourage and extend them, but she talks about how to do it. She doesn't go, oh, you should extend them. She talks through, like in the course, and those of you who enroll, like she's step by steps, how to get a kid a job, everything from a young age, the things you need to do, or how to keep a job, but all of these skills start at a young age. And it's just so important. We don't just leave school and get a job. There are things you have to do towards independence along the way. And what I love about Temple, she is very passionate that all of it is possible. And I think what I found interesting for the people that have watched the course already and checked everything was okay, they all said to me, Sue, this is a course about hope. And I get teary, but I think it is. And I think for me, when I first read Temple Grandin's books, and I was working in an autism school, and many of you know I'd been in mainstream, I went and did my master's. Temple inspired my thesis for my master's because she was the first person to talk about her thinking in pictures. And that was her book that I read that I was like, oh my goodness. I had to send away to America. There was no Amazon then. I had to send away. It took 3 months for that book to arrive. And when it arrived, it was like, oh, wow, I want to understand more about visuals and thinking in pictures. Now, Temple's gone on to describe 3 different types of thinking, and it's in the course on how different people on the spectrum think. So hers is thinking in pictures, but there's different ways of thinking. And those of you who have seen her TED Talk, she talks about that too. And her TED Talks had over 6 million downloads. It's amazing. But did you know that Temple Grandin was considered one of the top 100 influential people in the world in 2010, but it was alongside Barack Obama, Steve Jobs, and Oprah Winfrey. Like they were in the other 100. I mean, isn't this amazing? Temple Grandin, who was told to be institutionalized, is now one of the top 100 influential people in the world, alongside people like Barack Obama. I mean, it blows my mind. It really does, because I've met Temple. I've now collaborated with her to create this fabulous course, and I can see how amazing she is, but also what a strong advocate she is and why she should be in those top 100 influential people. But how amazing is this? And I did not know this till recently. She was also one of the top 10 college professors in the United States, like according to CEO World Magazine. So that is for her work with cattle and humane and lecturing at Colorado University. I mean, it's just mind-blowing that someone who didn't speak till they were 3 is now lecturing all over the world, but not only that, considered one of the top professors in the UK, in the USA. I mean, it's amazing. Now, lots of you would have seen her HBO film on her life, and in the course, we do a lot of snippets from the film because, as she says, the film is so accurate in portraying her mind, her thinking. They rebuilt her amazing designs, and I think it's well worth seeing those snippets to remind us. If you haven't seen the movie, put it on your must-watch this year, but I love it. Now, if you're a read a book first, I would recommend reading Thinking in Pictures. Temple has a number of books all on my website, but I'd read Thinking in Pictures first. I think it was the most insightful, and also a lot of it's in the movie, and then I'd watch the movie second. If you're a read the book person, read it first. I just think you'll find it really helpful. So for me, Temple is just amazing and offers us so much insights and understanding. Now, it's interesting when talking to Temple and putting this course together for you, and this free ebook, by the way, it's a chicken and egg thing for me. Did Temple tell me about Thinking in Pictures and then I started using visuals? Or had I sort of worked out visuals work for my kids and then Temple reinforced it and explained it? I'm not really sure. With a lot of these things, I don't know if my aha moment came when Temple said it or something I'd been trying worked and then Temple said it. I'm like, well, that makes sense. I'm not really sure. But the way I see it is, what I always say, I wish I could climb in a child's brain and have a quick look around. Temple offers us that insight and understanding. She offers us that look inside how her neurodiverse brain works and how we can then best support our kids to give the best outcomes. So, a few things. Make sure you download the ebook. Check your emails. If you don't sign up to my e-newsletter, jump on my website. There'll be a link to download it. There is, just for 2 weeks, a free module or lesson available to give you an idea of what the course is like. I always would prefer you get to see what the course is like before you enroll in it. It's a 5-hour course, and as always, if you start watching it, it's not for you. Do not worry. You can be refunded. The last thing I want any of you to do is watch a course that's not for you. Now, I just want to say, particularly for parents listening, that I know that I have called the course Strategies and Insights to Inform Your Teaching Practice and the ebook, but it is to inform your parenting too. And there's a bonus based from the book called The Loving Push on 12 tips for pushing, extending your child. And parents, there's a little bit of a chat for you there too and some information. But I just want you to know that this course is for anyone, whether you're working with adults or students. And although I have made it teacher focus, I promise you will take away amazing aha moments that you can apply to any age and stage. The reason I've made it teacher focus is because as a teacher, we need to use lived experience to inform our teaching practice. I am so passionate about that. And I'm so passionate that Temple Grandin should be one of our people that we listen to and hear what has helped her, and also what her mother did. I mean, her mum was amazing and her auntie, and hence why this is very informative for parents too. So let's have a deep dive into the ebook. The number one thing which I've just been talking about, but the quote from Temple is this: I think in pictures. Words are like a second language to me. I can't hear if there is background noise. I am functionally deaf in a noisy restaurant. So how does that inform us as teachers, as educators, as parents, as support workers? That tells us that when we're out in a noisy place or in a noisy classroom, many of our kids are not going to perform it the same way they would one-on-one in a quiet room. They're going to be different at home and out, and how exhausting it must be trying to block out that noise. That no wonder we need to use visuals. So in here, I've got 9 reasons to use visuals. 1, you can refer back to them. It remains constant long after the word's been said. So it's still there. If you're only on 1 bar service, if you've got a visual, you can refer back to it like a screenshot, right? it allows for that slower processing and that one bar service that we're going to talk about. It helps you prepare that without a visual, you don't know what's coming next. That's why we need a visual schedule. And Temple talks about chunking things, the importance of chunking things in the course, which was fascinating. Supports their learning. Of course, it supports their learning, but it supports their independence. And for me, that's the most important thing. If it's written down, they're not relying on you all the time to prompt them, remind them, repeat yourself. But it also helps the kids move between activities, homeschool, that having a visual lets them know what's happening. And as Wen Lawson says, stops her having to fight for control. And Temple would say if her boss didn't write things down, she wouldn't have been able to complete half the things she did. She had to do, like learning to milk a cow. She needed a visual schedule. After she'd done it 3 times, she knew what to do. But what is important about visuals, it shows what's expected. Words can be so confusing. Words are so confusing, but a visual is very clear. And that's why I always say to you, it's a timer plus a schedule. How long helps you understand what's expected. And as a result, it reduces anxiety. So the more visuals, the less anxiety. And the same for me, timers. And I know some of you go, no, the timer makes the child anxious. Guess what? You need to practice using the timer. You need to practice. That's okay. Children who get anxious about timers also get anxious about making mistakes. Because remember, they don't have a plan B. So, we didn't finish on time. That's okay. We can finish it tomorrow. We can ask for an extension. These are all important skills. So have a think about that. So I absolutely love visuals, and I highly recommend you think about using visuals. There's some more tips in the ebook that I recommend, like how to use visuals. But I know that we've talked about this lots of times before, but it's really important that you not only use visuals, but you think about how you're going to use them and make them consistent. The next one is, which Temple is so big on, is using their interests to extend them. So I found this fascinating. Burger Kings and McDonald's will not use meat unless it has been through abattoirs that uses Temple Grandin's design and humane checklists. In fact, she has designed 50% of abattoirs in Northern America. None of this would have happened without Temple's mother extending her by insisting she visited her auntie's ranch. This helped develop Temple's interest in cattle and resulted in her becoming a pioneer in the field of animal science. Temple is a strong advocate that all students and children should be stretched, extended, just beyond their comfort zone. She is very black and white about this. She is very much about kids need to be extended. Now, for me, it's about taking their interest and extending from there. It's finding something they're interested and passionate and engaged in and thinking, how can I use that? So for me, it's understanding a special interest isn't a barrier to learning. It's actually an opportunity to help children engage, to keep them motivated, to help them stay on task, but also to make them see what they're capable of. And in the ebook, it's quite funny because the person who I got to proofread it put a question mark because I had this same sentence from Anna Tulliman's in my book, The Essential Guide to Secondary School. Use their special interest no matter how bizarre. Use their special interest no matter how bizarre. I had that sentence 4 times, and the person proofreading the book's like, this is repeated 4 times. Yes, because I want to emphasize it. It is so important. What do I mean by no matter how bizarre? Temple did her thesis on cattle mooing. Everybody thought that was bizarre. People are like, who cares how cattle moo? But she was like, they were trying to communicate. We wouldn't have had half the breakthroughs in the world without people who think differently and who want to investigate things like mooing. Temple has made abattoirs more humane because of taking an interest in cattle and building it and making that into something interesting. And I can tell you, I have used so many of my kids' interests, whether it's in videos or games or Minecraft or animals. You can use all of these and they could be a future career. So please remember that you do need to use their special interest no matter how bizarre, but you have to have rules around it. You must make sure that they're clear rules. You also need to think, how can you extend these things? And one of the things in the course that Temple says is how long to persist with things. Like if you're trying something new or trying to extend them, and how long do you persist before you go, this isn't working? That is such an important question. So the next one I found really interesting. So as I mentioned, Temple was one of the top university professors in the USA. She's given hundreds of speeches in her career and shared priceless insights into the way the autistic mind works. She offers invaluable insights into sensory processing challenges and the need to find ways to help children regulate. Temple has developed a range of strategies to calm her senses, most importantly, her squeeze machine. Or famously, her squeeze machine. And any of you who have watched the movie would have seen the prototype, and in her book, you'll see photos of her in it. And the squeeze machine she uses like a hug to regulate her senses. Interesting, she was saying when we were talking that when we were filming that she doesn't use it anymore. It broke and she hasn't fixed it because she actually doesn't mind being hugged anymore. That she's found with COVID, she has missed that sensation. So isn't that interesting? That machine, and I don't know, I'm just making some leaps here, desensitized her to being squeezed. And now she was able to enjoy being hugged by people, but now wearing COVID, she's missing that. I love that. How many of you have had kids who don't like something and end up loving it? Isn't that a classic of Temple desensitizing, understanding the physicalness? I love it. So in here, what I'm saying is Temple uses a range of strategies to calm her senses, and we go into them in depth in the course, but I want you to think, what do your kids need to calm their senses? And many of you have heard me talk about this one before, but this one is using breaks, having break cards, using preventative breaks, teaching children when they're calm, not when they're having a meltdown, not when they're anxious, teaching them when they're calm how to access these things, making sure they realize that when they do access these things, how it makes them feel better. The importance that they have a break, but learn to advocate and request a break and know how that makes them feel. This is just vital. And I would love all of you to think about how you can build breaks in at home and school and work when they're older. Anna Tulliman shares how her son Daniel likes to wash the dishes because he has always liked to wring his hands and move his hand. Sorry, if you could see me. This isn't a visual. I keep forgetting this isn't video, it's audio, but sort of putting your hands, wringing your hands, I guess you call that. So she taught him to do the dishes at work because people are happy if you go and wash and dry the dishes, and that gives him the same sensation with his hands. So you've got to think, how can you get these things built into your everyday? So one of the other things that those of you who have watched the movie and read the books or watched any of Temple's interviews, her science teacher, Mr. Carnock, gave her the most interesting projects. And he was the one who worked out she thought in pictures and explained that to the other teachers. But he would give her individualized projects that would extend her. But also if she got stuck, he wouldn't give her the answer. He would just give her enough clues and hints so that she had to work it out. So one of the things Temple is very strong about, can I tell you, really stronger than I would be, she says, kids aren't learning to figure things out. There is a tendency for them to give up easily. She's like, I had to learn to throw out one of those little parachutes to get it working hundreds of times. I had to learn to make experiments hundreds of times. So all of these things have helped her in her work, in her design of cattle abattoirs. If she just gave up the first time, none of this would work. And she feels kids need more hands-on. That's a big mistake, that we've got rid of hands-on projects and learning, and kids need to learn to make mistakes and to keep trying new things, to do those plan Bs and keep trial and error. And I guess we're all guilty of that today. We just Google things, don't we? We've forgotten the importance of learning to persist and to try new things. But what she feels, and I guess it's because of the thinking in pictures, that actually she doesn't mean like writing mistakes. She means like trying to make something. And she's actually made a little book that's full of a whole lot of different, I think it's called Calling All Minds, making a whole lot of different projects. But you can look on Pinterest or learn to fly paper planes, or, there are so many things you could be doing that are simple with a piece of paper. My kids who love origami, often we give them the cheat sheet how to do it. Well, maybe they have to work it out, Cooking, how about they do some experimentation? They don't have to follow the recipe. There are so many ways we could let children be more creative, learn to persevere, but also if things don't work out, it doesn't matter. You can try again. So, as always, I've got a whole lot of tips about teaching children to persevere, to really get them in that growth mindset, to let them see that it's okay, it's an opportunity to learn. And I would love you to all, this month, add to home and school building something different with Lego, or trying to make a kite, or doing something where they have to keep trying and persevere and see how much further you can get the paper plane, or how much higher you can build a building without it falls over. Remember spending hours making card towers when you're a kid? Something like that, where it is going to fall over a lot. That's okay. Really, how can you help children to persevere? And I think she is spot on with that. And I think we're all a bit guilty of not being as resilient as we should be around trying new things. And I know I'm just got a new computer and I'm just trying to learn one new thing every day, because if I tried to learn too many at once, I'd be overwhelmed. So every day I'm trying to learn one new thing on the computer. But by the end of the week, that's 7 new things. And guess what? Sometimes it doesn't work, and sometimes I have to persevere. But these are skills we all need, and I'm trying not to just Google it straight away and just try and work it out. I think it's good for our brains to extend ourselves like that. The other thing I found interesting with Temple, that her teacher actually told the class that she had like an invisible disability and that they needed to help and support her, and the things that they could do to help her. And I think for all of us, we need to remember the importance of promoting understanding, that focus on student strengths, that we're all different. And I think Temple's absolutely spot on that how important that is. But one of the things Temple talked about that always breaks my heart with any of my kids, that she was bullied and teased. Kids used to nickname her and call her tape recorder because of her tendency to repeat speech. She was expelled from junior high school because she threw a book at a classmate. And Temple said, "High school was horrible. The thing that saved me was the friends with shared interests." Now, lots of you have heard me talk about setting up lunchtime clubs and passive playgrounds and creating places children can connect. And the reason for passive playground is back to that first thing, that if a playground's really noisy, it's very hard for my children to make connections. So the reason we want a quieter area, or board games, or somewhere that's not 100 kids running around, is more about the auditory processing. And the last but not least one, as a child, as I mentioned, Temple did not speak until she was 3.5. And now she has given so many speeches, it's not funny. And she said this, "I remember the frustration of not being able to speak." Isn't that fascinating? Can you imagine the frustration of not being able to speak? And Temple remembers it. Now, she had a very good speech therapist who her mother got to come to the house, who really worked on her speech. But for me, it's so much about providing those opportunities. So I've included 11 ideas to help children, particularly in the younger years, to learn to communicate and how to build up their communication. But remember, it must be so frustrating. So you need to give them a way to ask for help. You need to give them a way to ask for more, on, off. Think about what are the functional language the kids need that you know. So I hope you've got some good ideas from this. I hope you're inspired, if you haven't already, to go and watch the free webinar that is available. And if you have listening to this later and you miss the free webinar, make sure you sign up so you get to see it. We'll probably be offering it like a few times a year for you to see the free lesson and get a feel for what the course is like. I really hope that you are inspired to join me for this fantastic course that is just going to really give you so many practical strategies and tips to extend children in what Temple would call the loving push, to give you the insights and confidence, really, the confidence to have a go and to know what is possible for the kids and how long you should do things like persevere and so forth. So please email me if you have any questions about the course. Look forward to seeing you in the course. It's on an on-demand course, so you can watch it anytime, anywhere, any device. And if you're not sort of tech savvy on that stuff, just think of it like Netflix or any of those shows that you just log in and you can watch it anytime, anywhere. So look forward to seeing you on the course, and thanks for listening. I hope you found that a fascinating lesson with Temple and myself. Don't forget to check your emails from last week. There was an ebook with even more insights from Temple and how I implement that in the classroom in last week's podcast. And also there is a handout that goes with this podcast, so make sure you download that. This is what will all sent to you in your email. So check your emails. Don't forget to make me a safe email or whitelist, whatever, so you don't miss these emails, because they're so good to download and refer back to later. I always try and make it easy for you. I mean, you could get on now and start Googling Temple and go down a big rabbit hole, or I try and do all the hard work, the time savers for you. So make sure you get that ebook and download it. Make sure you get the handout. If you are interested in the course and you're listening to this when it's live, it's $50 off at the moment. And I just wanted to share some of the feedback from the course. It's thorough, practical, and well-researched. This kind of course should be mandatory for all teachers. The next person, I love this course. Absolutely brilliant, relevant and usable in all life situations with children and adults alike. Very eye-opening on how many people process the world and how to respond. Loved it, in capitals. And I love this one. Just do it. I would recommend this for all aides in our school as they are with students one-on-one and need these tools in their toolbox. I love that one. So I hope that you are ready to do some more learning. Personally, I love term 3 for learning because there's no reports, no parent-teacher interviews. Normally, like no long weekends. I know it sounds crazy, but term 3 is my favorite term because I feel like where I've got a little bit more bandwidth with my class and more time to do some professional learning and do a bit of a deeper dive into, just different things. And so learning with someone like Temple and myself would be a wonderful thing to do. So I hope that you are inspired to do the course. Please email me if you have any questions, and happy learning.